Hello everyone and a hearty welcome back to Solo Board Gaming presents, ta-da! Heroes of Stalingrad. Heroes of Stalingrad from Devil Pig Games, the Heroes System Tactical Scale. I know that many of you will be familiar with it. I know it's a bit Marmite to wargamers. The vast majority of people who've bought it and played it absolutely love the system. There are those out there that haven't bought it and played it that look at it and think, I don't think I'm going to like the system. But hang on there. For those waverers, I might just be able to change your mind. Now, when I'm talking about Heroes of Stalingrad, I'm talking really about the whole Heroes System Tactical Scale. So, the type of content you're getting in here, the whole play system, the boards, the same rules are going to apply whether you have or are thinking of getting Heroes of Stalingrad or Heroes of Normandie, the very latest iteration, Heroes of Normandie, the big red one. All of those are base sets. This is a base set, Heroes of Normandy is a base set, Big Red 1 is a base set. So that's all you need. Sometimes you can look at these series, can't you, and think, oh my goodness, that's a rabbit hole. What do I choose? So many expansions, so many add-ons and that kind of thing. And of course there is. And they're hugely popular. This game or this series of games has a massive following. But if all you ever do is get yourself a base set, Heroes of Stalingrad, Heroes of Normandie, the big red one, they will all play the same. So what we're going to go through now will show you the kind of gameplay, the kind of content to expect, no matter which of the base games you have. And I keep on about the base games because the chances are you'll want to get expansions. For instance, I will be getting Heroes of Normandie, the big red one, and backing the Kickstarter for the Battle for Caen expansion. Wow, that is going to be really, really something. But the longevity of what you have in any of those base sets is huge, because the big plus point about these games is once you've played all of the scenarios that are in the book, and there are plenty of them, and learnt the game, for me, its main strength is its free battle mode. That from then on, forever and a day, you can make up your own forces on a point system, creating your own scenarios very easily, and battling out on the table forevermore. Now we have a couple of great publications in here, two great books. Both are shiny, glossy books. And first of all, we have the Heroes of Stalingrad Rulebook. Now, I've called it the Heroes of Stalingrad Rulebook because that's exactly what it is, but it'll be similar. Again, once more, I know I keep emphasizing it, in any of the standard core sets. And these are the revised edition of the rules, because the rulebook in Heroes of Normandie first edition wasn't all that clear on many points. The rulebook was extensively revised, and this is what we have here. And it's one of the simplest rule books you could possibly desire. It's immensely graphics rich, as you can see, tons of illustrations and examples of every part of the gameplay. Really easy to understand, a joy to read, and once you get your pieces on the table, it all starts to make tons of sense. So we won't spend too long over this. And as you can see here, it goes through the counters in great detail. What more do you want? Special abilities and so on. Now, because there's so much information on the board itself and on the counters, you'll rarely need to refer to the rule book. And I'm being quite genuine there. What you will be doing probably is referring to the last page here, okay, which is the game's phases on the inside here, order phase, activation, supply, firing resolution, penalties of suppressed markers and so on. Then you've got a ton of keywords, which is really useful. But the most important thing is on the back of the book, and you'll be using this a lot, first of all, is the iconography that drives the game. This is an icon-driven game. And all of the icons that you'll find both on the board itself, on the game board, and also on structure tiles, and most importantly, on the actual playing pieces themselves, are listed here. So you will refer to this a lot, and then it's just handy that just inside there, you've got your sequence of play. Okay? Next, and quite important, of course, is the scenario book. Again, brilliantly written. The scenarios start off very, very simple, just using 2 boards, for instance, and slowly introducing things like vehicles and all the myriad of weapons types. So it'll then go through a game for you step by step, using just 2 of the 6 boards, and then they'll slowly grow in intensity. Here we've got 4 boards, 6 boards, again 6 boards, introducing more and more components to the game. And finally, another one on the back there. Now, probably the most important part of this book is the free battle mode, and it explains it in detail, and we will be using the free battle mode, there you go, as we do our own scenario, how you build up an army with points, but we'll go through this in the next video, and how you build up your boards. And importantly, I'll show you how I do it for the most fun, the most maneuver, and the most impact. Brilliant. So those are the 2 publications then, the scenario book and the rule book with its iconography on the back. Okay, now let's talk about our playing surface, the boards. And you get 6 of these in each of the base sets. And you can also get extra ones, by the way, in some of the expansions too. And all 6 boards, of course, are fully geomorphic. Let's have a quick look. So there's quite a plain one there, where you're going to have tons of maneuver. Let's put that over there. We're building up to some streets here, some foliage, brush. Now, that's a famous location here from the centre of Stalingrad. Ooh. Okay, here we go. We got plenty of craters and rubble. Continuation of a street there. Here we have a ruined building full of rubble. Parts of it provide decent cover. And similar again here. Again on the street running through. And again we have brush and a ruined house. Let's flip them over. And you can see there's so much variation that you can apply to all of these tiles. Stick them together in any order at all. More ruins on the back of that one. Let's turn this one over. And the same here. You can build up a heck of a townscape if that's what you want to do. Plus you can have clear areas to the edge or in the centre. For instance, a town square or park. Again, tons of rubble. Row of houses here. Like so. Now, as if that wasn't enough, what fun do we have next? Well, I've had this game quite a while though. Over 12 months, 18 months, something like that. And then we have lots of extra pieces, lots of goodies that we can overlay onto our map. This here is a complete building. See how that's different? That isn't rubble, it's complete. So we could place that on a street corner, like so. That's as well as the other ruins that you've seen on the other boards. Or, again, another intact house. You can see here where you're allowed to enter it. We could make it complete if we wish, like so. That's a big building. That could be a heck of a target. Fighting even, room to room. One side of it could get destroyed. Yes, you can do that. You can destroy these buildings with satchel charges, with artillery, with HE from your tanks. And look, we now have rubble. Boom! After a certain amount of destruction points have been applied, in this case 2, but we'll be having a look at all this iconography in greater detail. Boom! It's rubble. And so on. So you can continue like that. I won't put them all down. But it just shows you, you can imagine what possibilities you have. Boom. An absolute brilliant system. So imagine 6 of these boards. Imagine the size of that. And that's what we'll be playing on in our 3rd video, with some of these buildings dotted about. Absolutely brilliant. Now, the thing is, to find out how to deal with all of these obstacles, the buildings and so on, you don't have to go to a player aid. You don't have to dig through the rule book, because it's all on the map. It's all on the boards themselves. So just before we get onto the actual combat pieces, let's have a quick look at that. Okay, so we've just put a couple of random boards down here to have a look at a couple of things. There you go. We have the same kind of thing. There's 4 squares of shrubbery. And here we have numbers inside coloured shapes. First of all, it's shrubbery. Okay. So you see the triangle here? And hopefully you can just make out it says -1. It's a red triangle, -1. So this terrain hinders line of sight by -1 for each square that you are shooting through. So it changes your firing statistics by -1 for each square you are firing through. So it doesn't block line of sight, it hinders line of sight. And also, there's an orange shield there with a +1. Now, within the game, and we'll see this more clearly soon, the different types of units have their own colour code. I did say it's all icon driven. And it's so that you don't have to keep looking at charts. So orange is infantry. And while we're at it, purple is light vehicles. And grey is heavy vehicles, heavy armour, for instance. But meanwhile here, we're looking at the orange for infantry. And it has a shield, which means defence, +1 for defence of infantry if you're in this terrain. That makes sense. Easy peasy. Let's have a look at a simple pothole. I've just noticed one down the bottom here. There you go. We're looking at this shell crater here. There's that orange shield again. So we know it's pertaining to infantry. Infantry get +1 defence if they're in this crater. And it's also, see that no entry sign? Impassable to purple, heavy vehicles, heavy armour. It's impassable. That makes sense too. And we're just close to a ruined building. There we go. Let's have a look at that one. Here's a ruined building. Look, most of it's rubble. There's some floorboards left there. The solid red lines are pieces of wall that happily still remain. Okay, now let's look at one of those pieces of wall first. Okay, so a red piece of wall, there's the no entry sign, no entry to everything. There are no explanatory shields there, so it's no entry to everything. Nothing can pass through this wall. And there's the red triangle, but this time it doesn't say -1 to line of sight. There's an X on it. So this piece of wall completely blocks line of sight, and it's repeated there, here. So whenever you see a completed piece of wall, it completely blocks line of sight, and it's no entry to any types of units. So what about units that are actually inside here? Infantry combat units that are occupying one of these 4 squares in this large room here. Well, it's largely rubble. So if you look down here, it's giving -2. Do you see that just there in the red triangle? -2 hindrance to line of sight. So that's everything within there, -2 hindrance. So if you had a unit here and it's firing at a unit through the rubble that's there, -2 to its effectiveness. And infantry units within here, there's the orange triangle, get +2 to their defensive value. Now that makes tons of sense. So, and finally, this little piece of the corner here, you see no entry, and this time there are qualifying icons. No entry to light vehicles in the purple or heavy vehicles in the grey. They can't cross the rubble. Couldn't be simpler. I'll show you just one more thing. I'll put this piece, let me come out. Okay, so I'll put this building down here. This is a complete building. So let's go down into it and take a look. Have I put it the easy way up for you? Yes, I think I have. Okay, this is a complete building. Look, there's no rubble here. These are fully intact walls. There are some arrows here in white, which shows you can fire out of those windows or indeed in through the windows. The red walls, in fact, the whole building itself completely blocks line of sight. Here's the entrance here. No entry at all for light vehicles or heavy vehicles. It gives +3, not +2 anymore, +3 to the defensive value of infantry within that building. Its destruction factor is 2. It will take 2 points of destruction to reduce that building to rubble. So there's its rubble side, and see how things change. It's still no entry to light vehicles and to heavy vehicles, but now, instead of completely blocking line of sight, it's merely a hindrance of -2, the same as the rubble over here, and its defensive factor has gone down from 3 to 2. It all makes sense. It's all on the board. Okay, so let's have a look at those combat pieces, and there are bags and bags of them. I've had the game about 12 months, I think I mentioned that, 18 months I think actually, and I have bags of combat units forming different battle group combinations, and we get management counters too. As in most games, continued here in this bag, and blast templates, flamethrower templates, that kind of thing. But let's have a closer look at some of these combat counters. Okay, I hope you can see this fairly clearly. Let's have a look at a couple of German infantry counters first of all, and all of the counters are really thick, chunky cardboard. And the fantastic graphics, which are a top-down graphic, instantly give you the feel of a tabletop miniatures game, which is why so many people love this system. So you've got your stand of tabletop miniatures here. And as I said, units can move diagonally or orthogonically, any which way you like. But let's have a look at the makeup of one of these counters. Now, I hope you can see that fairly clearly. Okay, so this is the full strength side of a typical infantry fire group. And there you see the title there, it's a fire group. There you see the divisional symbol for this German unit. And first and foremost is its movement rating, which is there, that purple arrow pointing forward with a number 3 in it. It can move 3 spaces. Simple as that. It can move 3 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, or whatever. Now, normally most units can move or they can fire, not move and fire. There are units that have the ability to fire on the move, and there are also some cards that can give you the ability to move and fire. But let's stick to the basics. Most units can fire or move. Let's come back to here and continue to look at the tile. So that's the movement factor there. Then you get this little group of symbols here. Now, you might begin to recognize some of the colors we spoke about before. First of all, in the center shield there with a number 4 on it, that is the defense value of this unit here. And being in orange, it signifies this is an infantry type unit. So orange infantry type unit, defense value of 4. When it fires upon infantry, you see now the shield is pointing forward, but it's orange. So when it fires upon infantry, it has a firepower of +2 to your dice roll. Firing on light vehicles, and that's the purple, in the center here is +1. So it does have an effect, but not all that effective. And here's the grey, firing at heavy armor, no effect at all. Defensive value in the middle, anti-infantry, anti-light vehicle, anti-armor. It's all on the token. Now, along this side, you might have some special abilities. This ability here, the dagger, means that this unit can assault. So this unit can assault another unit. Now, we said it could either move or fire, not both, but because it's got that assault symbol, it can move and assault if it's within its movement range. Here, this reverse side symbol means that if it takes a hit, it can be turned to its reduced side. First thing that strikes you, there are less characters in the team. Now there's only 3. And that means, look at their defensive value. It's actually increased. Now that's a surprise, isn't it? The defensive value is now 5, but it's a smaller team. It's harder to hit. No longer has any effect against light vehicles. Maybe it's lost its gun. Only +1 against infantry now. So these factors are all being reduced. And still nothing, no effect against tanks. Can still assault. Still has a movement value of 3. They've still got legs. But this little red skull here at the bottom, that means if it takes another hit, it's gone. How simple is that? So there's that unit there. A fire team. Let's look at another unit, another infantry unit. This time it's an MG34, 2-man team. Quite difficult to hit. There it is. Defensive value of 5. No effect against infantry. No effect against light vehicles. No effect against tanks. By the way, where it's +0, I say no effect. That isn't strictly true. It just means there are no additions. No additional values. You still get your dice roll effect, of course. Can move 3, But if it's hit, it's gone. It's only a one-step unit. Instead, that symbol there with the bipod, you need to deploy the MG34. Spin it over, and now it's deployed. Now it's immensely effective. Look at this pair now, hiding down behind this wall with the MG34 bipod deployed. In this state, it can only move one square, of course. But now look at its effect against infantry. It's +4 to your dice roll. It's +2, in fact, against light vehicles. Still no effect against heavy armour. Still 5 defence, there's the 2 of them. But again, if it's hit, it's destroyed. If you need it to move quicker, move faster, they can put the bipod legs away and run for 3 spaces, just like they could before. But because now they've deployed the MG34, look at the additional effects here. And those are, this one at the top means that it can divide its fire. It can hit different targets. In other words, spray, let's say 2 targets up here in the bushes instead of just 1. And it does that by dividing its combat factor, if it's infantry, and that was +4. So it could fire at one target +2 and another target +2 onto their dice roll. That's a great ability and makes a lot of sense for combat. Or this symbol here with the downward facing arrow, instead it can use suppressive fire. It's easier to suppress targets than it is to hit. And being a machine gun, it can suppress very effectively. Now, I said this was a light war game, but hopefully now you can see the tactics evolving in your head. Once these combat pieces, once these almost miniatures are on the board, the actual tactics start to get pretty serious. Let's have a look at another infantry unit. This one might surprise you. You might think this was artillery, but it's actually classed, look at the defensive value there, as infantry. So it's infantry class, but it's a gun. And in fact, it's a Pak 38. This small team here, they're a small team, also have the additional protection of the gun shield. So their defensive value is 6. Try hitting these boys. It's not easy. Now in this state, they can wheel this gun around. They can push this gun 2 squares. They would be +1 against infantry. Not all that effective. It's an anti-tank gun after all. +4 against light vehicles. Now you're talking. +3 against armour. This is a really effective anti-tank gun. If they get hit once, look, they're done. Spin it over, and they can go back into hiding. Yes, it's only when they break cover within line of sight of an enemy unit that they have to be spotted. Do you see what I mean? So this unit can hide in the brush, in the rubble of a house, until it either fires or it's spotted within the line of sight of an enemy unit. Amazing. Absolutely brilliant detail there. Couple of other things. This symbol here, it has an armor penetration value, and this symbol here with the 1 on it, it does have a destruction value as regards buildings and infrastructure. Great anti-tank weapon. Let's look at a little bit of armor. Okay, maybe what you would expect. A Panzer III. And again, everything's on the counter. Everything is on. Let's move these out of the way. Everything is on the actual counter itself. No need to look things up in tables and charts. Right in front of you on the board. So let's look at this piece of armour then. What do we have with this Panzer III Variant J. Look at the grey shields there, and here at the back. Yes, you guessed it, that's its defence value. Its defence value for a frontal attack is 8. From the side, it's 7. And an attack from the rear, its defensive value is 6. Still a formidable machine. But at the back here, it has 2 groups of symbols. There's one group here, look, in red. And there's another group here in yellow. And that's because it has 2 weapons. We're even taking this into account. This is the Hero System Tactical Scale, and it means what it says on the tin. Anything you think you can do as a small squad fighting in this built-up terrain, you can actually do down on the deck, on the boards themselves. So it's 2 distinct groups, 2 different weapons. This is the main gun in red, and in yellow, it's the machine guns. Yes, big differences here. Let's look at the main gun. The main gun cannot fire on the move. Against buildings, because it can fire HE, its destruction factor is 2. Against infantry, the main gun is +2. There it is in orange to your normal dice rolls. Against light vehicles, there in purple, +3 to your normal dice rolls. Anti-armour is +3. There in grey, +3 to your dice rolls. Its movement value, there's the blue arrow, is 4. And yes, it can move in reverse or forward. It can rotate on the spot and so on. And it can even end its move rotated. Any one of its 2 weapons, no matter what its orientation, can fire 360 degrees. Unless, of course, we were looking at a Stug, but we're not doing that. Now we're looking at the Panzer III. So that's the main weapon. Let's look at the secondary weapon and its potential effect. It's the machine guns, which has +4 against infantry. You'd expect that. +2 against light vehicles. No additional modifier against armour. In fact, it has no effect on armour. The machine guns, just like the MG34 that we saw over here, can split its fire factor of 4 against numerous targets. It can suppress. All these make a lot of sense. But finally here you see as well, it can fire on the move at any point during its movement phase, but at a -2 to the dice rolls. Wow. Now, if you hit the tank, you have to roll to see where you've hit, whether it's a critical hit. Have you just immobilized it? Have you hurt some crew? Have you hit the gun? Whatever. But eventually when the tank is destroyed, it flips over. What do we have here? It becomes a wreck. And now that wreck is going to, look at the symbol here, block line of sight. It's no entry. No unit can enter this burning wreck. It can completely block a street. The wreck can be blown up and destroyed, but it can take 4 demolition points to do so. Potentially another heavy vehicle could help push it out of the way some. All of these things are possible in the Heroes system. Should we look at another vehicle? Let's push him out the way a little bit. Did anybody call for an armoured car, a half-track? Hello! Only one main weapon, nicely armoured. It's a light armoured vehicle. Look, it's in purple, 6 defence, but +4 that weapon. It's the MG34 or 42 mounted on the vehicle. It can fire on the move. It can suppress, it can divide its fire. See that 7? It can carry personnel. But again, gets destroyed and it becomes a roadblock. And these things, you have to think about, of course, when and where you're firing at these vehicles. How about a command car, a scout car? Here's a HoN 901. That's a lovely little vehicle. There it is. Fantastic. Nice, chunky combat counters. Like so. But the piece de la resistance for me is, look at this little baby. My favourite of them all. It's the Panzer I. I know. Wow, how often? Try and think now. Have a look on your gaming shelf. How many games do you have where there's a Panzer I in it? As a recce vehicle, a command vehicle, whatever. But again, there's its armour values. Only 5, 4 from the back as well. But it can move 4. It's mounted with twin machine guns, isn't it? Remember, in the turret? It has a defence rating of 4, plus 4 against infantry, plus 2 against light vehicles. No additional combat factor, though, against armoured vehicles. But look, there's another symbol comes into play here. Twin guns. And because it's twin guns, you can roll 2 dice and keep the best result. That's how we look after those twin guns. Absolutely superb, and it can fire on the move, it can suppress, it can divide its combat factor there, the plus 4, between more than one target. Wow, that is absolutely stunning. Let's have a quick look now at some Russian examples, some Soviet examples I really should be saying, of course. I found a headquarters unit here, consisting of 4. It has a command ability, which is that yellow star there. It can move 3. Its defensive is 4, plus 2 against infantry, plus 1, and so on. It can assault. But look, pair of binoculars, that's because it can act as a spotter. A spotter for what, you might say? Well, it could be a spotter for this mortar team. Yes, we have mortars in the game. It's only a small unit, so quite a high defense value. It can move 3, but if it gets hit once, it's gone. Only plus 1 against infantry, because they're not all that effective. But the best part about the mortar team is, once deployed like so, still plus 1 against infantry, but it can engage in indirect fire over that house, over that copse, over that heavy armoured vehicle, when assisted by a spotter team such as this. And continuing beautiful illustrations, look, HMG 1910, look at it on its wheels, gets hit once, it's gone. It's only a 2-man team, it's being wheeled around, 3 movement points, only plus 1 against infantry as they stand, like so, but deploy it. Now it's plus 3, plus 2 against light vehicles. And again, it has a suppressive ability and an ability to split its combat factor between more than one unit. The same with the DP-28, beautiful illustration, plus 2 against infantry, deploy it. There he is lying down, and he gains the ability to split his combat factor and to suppress. Absolutely love that. And my goodness, if you haven't got much armour with you, then how about an anti-tank rifle? There she is, an anti-tank rifle. Plus 1, plus 3 against light vehicles, plus 1 against heavy vehicles. That can be useful. Plus a scary shot, even a near miss, can suppress you momentarily. What the heck was that? Bang! As it bounces off the plate behind you. and it can be hidden like the anti-tank gun. Dangerous things. Finally, and this has to be finally now, let's have a look at the T-34. And what else shall I choose? So many choices. The T-60 Scout tank. Let's look at the difference between these. Defensive value 8 at the front, 8 at the sides, 7 at the back, as opposed to 6, 5 and 5. On the T-60 Scout, there's only the one main gun, which is an anti-infantry gun, although it can have a brilliant effect against light vehicles. But with the T-34, you've got the two weapons, again like the Mark III Panzer. You've got the main gun and the machine guns, again, which can fire on the move. Wow. Light war game? Yes, it is. Fun? Tons of fun. I mean, you can just imagine it now, looking at those counters and moving them around the board, moving that anti-tank weapon slowly into position. Like so. Oh, great thing, by the way. Just quickly on this anti-tank gun, I wonder if I can see it. This does not have a 360 field of fire. Look in the front of it, there's a red triangle there. Don't even just about see it. Just there. And one on the opposite side. They form an arc, a firing arc. It has a firing arc like so, which goes through here, from the centre, through there, from the centre, through there. There's the marker. There's the marker. They're barely visible, but they're there. So those are the firing arcs, but it can also, when it can move, be spun. Okay, to a different angle. There's no restrictions on that kind of thing, as long as it's done in the correct phase. So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed the overview. I want to thank another channel. I want to thank Andrew Chung. Now, if you don't know Andrew Chung, please visit his channel. Please subscribe. I'll put the link down below. He covers mainly war games. Now, for about 4 weeks or so now, for one reason or another, I've been a bit down in the doldrums, not getting on too great. I know it happens to all of us. Well, everything's absolutely brilliant now, but I must thank Andrew Chung because he's recently covered Heroes of Stalingrad on his own channel, did a great explanation of the game, did a bit of a playthrough, and in fact, he's just started another playthrough. He absolutely loves the system, and it comes out really strongly in his brilliant narrative and deep review type explanations of what's going on. So seeing this, one of my favourite games, I'd had it so long but not yet covered it. I saw what Andrew was doing, and it was that really inspired me, gave me a bit of enthusiasm again to get back to filming another video, and this is the result. So thank you very much, Andrew. Please take a look at his channel. The link is down below. So guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for putting up with me and for subscribing. Please like the video if you possibly can. There's more coming up very, very soon. Meanwhile, take care and see you shortly. Bye-bye.